just putting my timer on so that even though I may talk a lot about my daughter, I don't want to take up too much of your time as well. But one, two, three, four. That's about as much time as my daughter Elana Noel lost control of her car, panicked, hit the brakes hard, turned the wheel, went into the embankment, flipped the car, and died. That fast. Elana died by the side of the road. Elana died by herself, alone. Elana died without family, without friends. She was dead before anybody got to the car. And for a father, I see her, I hear her screams, and I hear her silence. It was devastating to us in many ways. Just a few weeks earlier, we were at the funeral for my father, her grandfather. I flew Elana in for that, and so many family and friends talked about how about this wonderful, tall, poised young woman. It was the last time they saw her. 3 weeks later, I'm on the phone with my mom saying, Elana's dead. It's devastating to a family in so many different ways because my daughters, I have three, and her sisters struggle with the sadness of losing their older daughter. I struggle because I looked at myself and said, I failed as a father. I failed to protect her. I couldn't be there to save her. What you don't know is the night before, I even thought about putting her on a plane. And that morning, I changed. I said, oh, she's gone. I'll drive her back or I'll fly her back. 3 weeks after her death, my wife's cancer came back. And she's been struggling ever since. And a couple of weeks ago, she's now in a wheelchair. That's just us. That's just one family. And think about the hundreds and thousands of families that go through this type of tragedy, and even worse. And sometimes that sadness is way too much and greater than ours. It's just one family, one daughter. Some of the pictures that you see on the screen right now, you'll see that Elana was just full of life. And if you had not met her, you may not even know everything that she did. She was the commander of her JRTC program here at Bowie High School in Austin. She loved to play lacrosse, and she loved to win. And she liked to win because she felt that she was better. I still remember her coming home one day. I actually watched the game, but then I got to hear the whole story of the game again from her that evening. And you have to remember, Elana was tall, and she had these thin, long arms, and her arms are going like this, and she's talking about the game, and she was talking about some of the smack that she was getting from the other girls' team, a private team here in Austin that she beat. Because when she got smacked, she knew that she could come back and say, I can do better, and she scored 6 goals that game. She was just a force. And she believed in helping others, and she believed in the compassion. On her own, she started working with a nonprofit that was working with children that had gone through terrible situations in life, and they used animals and horses as part of the therapy. And Elana went to them and said, how can I help? And she took care of the horses and the animals. And one of the videos that we found later, after her death, she was like Dr. Doolittle. She was talking to the horses and singing to the animals. And she didn't stand by fools. We got a letter from a friend that said, Elana always had everybody's back. It told a story about how there were some bullies, and I guess two boys came by a table, said some choice words, and it was Elana. Elana stood up and said, say those to me. I always figured those boys were in complete shock when this girl jumped up and was probably in their face. But Elana was an A student. She loved Texas Tech University. She was part of the Women's Service Organization. And she was part of the Women's Service Organization because she wanted to give back. She wanted to go to have community service. She supported volunteer work. She believed in helping others. And she was a model. As if she had nothing else to do. People always said to Elana, you seem to know everybody. And she was just a freshman. And she already had dinner with the president of the university. But she was coming home that day, and she told me the night before that she had everything worked out. She was coming home for a modeling job, and a job that she always said no to, because she would say, I'm in Lubbock. I don't have time for this. But she was also the model for one of the top designers, student designers at Texas Tech. And they just had a photo shoot. And we're in a magazine. And so she was happy and thrilled and said to me the night before, Daddy, it's okay. I have it all worked out. And just think about it. I'll have a job during the summer. And so it was just a couple of weeks before the end of the school year. She was going to come home. The text we got in the morning was, let's do this. Let's do this. It was the last message that we got from Elana. One of the texts that we saw on her phone was, I'll Snapchat you to keep you from being bored. Later that afternoon, as we were waiting for her to come home, and we were all excited, I was talking about this earlier, we had the state trooper come to our door, telling us Elana's not coming home. That Elana wasn't coming home. You know, we think we can drive and do so many other things, but we can't. And I know many of you here know that, and you talk about that, and you preach about that, and you practice about that message. It's a message that we need to continue to get out. It's a message that we need to continue to talk about to save lives. You heard the statistics earlier. We had over 100,000 crashes due to distracted driving in Texas in 2017. Almost 500 people died. Almost 3,000 serious injuries. That in itself should tell us we can't drive and do other things. There's the proof. Year after year, crash after crash. We can do better. We can save lives. Why should we be as a family, why should families stand back and be scared knowing that their loved one might have just been going to the store, or maybe a child in the street, or a friend or a family member out cycling? We expect them home. We expect them home. So we need to make changes. So one of the things as a family, and I can tell you right now that tragedy and death can destroy you. So I mentioned I wanted to die. There's not a day that goes by where I feel that Elana needs me. But as a family, we stand back and we try to help each other and try to work with other groups. And as a family, we worked at the Capitol almost every day to try to pass legislation to pass no texting. And we were glad to see that happen back last September. And I'm glad to be part of other groups like Vision Zero ATX and Families for Safer Streets as we work with groups and families to try to save lives. But we need to do more. We need to do more. Senator Watson talked about that. We have to take action and we need everybody's help. There are a few things that we know that we need to do. We need to pass a hands-free bill for the state of Texas, from El Paso to Houston, from Tyler to Laredo. We know that that's not perfect. We know there's dangers, even having a conversation, having a teleconference call through Bluetooth. We know you don't focus as well, but we need to continue to find ways to break the habit of having a phone in your hand. We need to expand the education outreach throughout the state. The Texas Department of Transportation is doing great work in terms of outreach and education, but they need our help, whether it's through cities and schools and through our employers. We need to expand our driver education programs. Probably everybody in this room does more training for your job than we do for driving. Yet we have thousands and thousands of people die on our Texas roads, and there isn't any additional training, there isn't any additional certification that you need to have. I know my daughter probably never was in that situation before. When she died, we had friends and people call us and say, we knew somebody who went off the road, but thank goodness they were able to walk away. And I'm so glad that they were able to walk away. But I also looked at that and go, that's a terrible way for us to exist as humans, as a community. That we basically say, take some lessons, here's the keys, figure it out. Put your life on the line and everybody else's. We shouldn't have to learn how to stop in a hurry when you had to do it for the first time. Most of us may say, when we had a crash or a near crash, may say, take the deep breath, and you say, I won't do that again. I remember going off the road when I was a kid, and I said, never do that. But that's what we do. We basically say to drivers, figure it out. So we need to expand our driving education to include defensive driving. And we need to be able to work with insurance companies and vehicle companies, manufacturers on ways to give incentives for folks not even to have the phone in a car. To only to have that communication when it's time of emergency. That's what we need to have. You know, our family, one of the things that we knew that we can do is to pass on Elana's spirit. And so we created 2 scholarships, one scholarship through the Austin Community Foundation for a student at Bowie High School here in Austin. And we created another scholarship in Elana's name at Texas Tech because she just loved Texas Tech University. She knew she was going there since a little girl. Blame her mom. Which also meant that she was not going to go to any other university in Texas as well. The line was drawn. That scholarship is for a student that's part of the Women's Service Organization to keep that spirit and that belief in community support and volunteer work. To spread Elana's desire to help others. And so far we've given out 7 scholarships in her name. So I know many of you have been in this business, and there's a lot of great folks here today who are going to say some great things to learn from, to do. And I'll just leave you with, if Elana was here, her long arms, she was taller than I was, and she enjoyed it. But she would be saying, why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you doing it? She had the back of her friends, and she would have your back. And she would be saying, take action. Don't stand by and just let this happen. Standing by means more families will continue to go through the tragedies that we've had. But you can do something. We can do something. We can do something as a community to step up and help each other. The bond that we are beginning to have among all of us is the bond that we know that somebody has been hurt, seriously hurt. Or that bond is that we know somebody has died. Which change that? But make that bond because we know that we saved a life. That's the bond we want to have. Let's have that bond of family and community. We miss Elana every day. And I know we miss so many others.